Good day everyone. Today I'll be discussing about the basics of C++. Last meeting, we discussed about the code blocks, the JDoodle. We tried to run a program using a simple program, and we also tried to run using the CXX droid based on a very simple pattern where you created using your name and you printed the patterns, and some of you were able to run the program, and that's good, and keep it up. Now this time we're going to try to use the VS Code in running a program, but our focus today is on the variable names, on how you can do it. So let's proceed. Okay, what are the objectives for today's topic? As a student, you will learn to identify the valid and invalid variables, and you will learn how to determine the data types because there are different kinds of data types. At the same time, you will learn how to declare and assign a value to a variable name. And lastly, you will learn how to create a program using a simple mathematical problem. But the sample problem that we're going to run today is using a addition. We will be adding numbers. Okay? It's clear? Okay, let's proceed now. And what are the topics that we will be discussing for today? These are the variables, the assignments, and we will also do the input and output. At the same time, we will be discussing the data types and expressions. Okay? And when we are talking about the variables, these are like small blackboards where we can write a number on them, we can change the number, and we can also erase the number. Just think you are going to add two numbers. Let me say 2 plus 5. If you're going to put it in your mind, in your brain, the 2 will be stored in your brain, and then you have another number which is 3. You can store it in your brain. So that is 2 plus 3 equals 5. So that's easy, but here in programming, that's different. You cannot do that way right away. You need to put it variable names for that one. Okay, when we say variable, it's actually a memory address where the data can be stored and changed. Declaring a variable means specifying both its name and its data type. So we will discuss that later too. Okay, and what does the variable declaration do? So in this case, the variable declaration tells the compiler to allocate enough memory to hold the value of this kind of data type and to associate it with the identifier, which I'll also mention, or I'll discuss what does it mean by identifier. So example here, we have the data type and the variable where we can actually store it in a memory, assuming the box here is the memory. Okay, this one. These are the memory allocation. And we have another variable here and the data type. And there are 3 data types here, different data types, and the variable name, which I'll be discussing it one by one. Okay, the identifiers are also called variable names, so we can call them identifiers. If you can hear variable names, also refer as identifier. And when you choose a variable names, you should choose something meaningful, okay? Something that you can represent the data to be stored. First character must be of or the underscore. You cannot start with a number actually. Okay, with this one. So when we are talking about an identifier, these are like name, a label, a type, a variable or a constant or functions in a C++. So in here, the C++ is actually a case sensitive language. When we say work is not the same as work, even though the spelling is just the same. But then in programming, these two words are totally different, although the spelling is correct. Okay, so when we create our identifier, or we call those variable name, the identifier must be unique. It cannot be the same. When we say unique, it's only just assigned to you. Example, your name. It should be something unique. The identifiers cannot be a reserved word. When we're talking about the reserved words, these are special words in the C++ where you cannot use it in your command. You cannot include it as your variable name. Is that clear? Okay. And when we are talking about identifier, it must start with a letter or an underscore. Is that correct? Okay. Now, let's proceed. Keywords. When we are talking about the keyword, these are reserved words, which I mentioned earlier, and the C++ language usually used. And it can be used as a define in the programming language, meaning these are the standard commands in C++ that you cannot use as your variable names. And lastly, the keywords cannot be used as identifiers. Okay, so let's proceed now. Okay, these are examples of the reserved words. When we are talking about the reserved words, okay, take a look. Try to read what are these one, and you will know that these are the most common reserved words that you cannot use in your variable name. Okay, we had the break, except, float, the inline, new, register, auto. All of this actually cannot be used. Overall, there are actually 32 keywords, but then as time goes on, it added more. There are many more reserved words nowadays, actually. So let's continue in here. Okay, if you had no more questions with this one, we can proceed now. Okay, so if you want to ask more about this one, okay, you just review about this topic, the reserved words. Let's continue now. Okay, let's continue. So these are the rules that you need to think about. Okay, you should follow these rules. Okay, I'll just put it here. I'll be in the other side. Okay, the first character here, the number one rule. The first character of the identifier in C++ should begin or either start with an alphabet or an underscore. Okay, you cannot use a number. And no special character. You cannot use the special character. Okay, special characters cannot be used in here. And when we're talking about special characters, these are the symbols like exclamation mark, the and sign, comma, or parenthesis, or whatever. Okay, let's proceed now. Okay, rule number 3, no keywords. It means that we cannot use the special words or the keywords in C++. That is strictly prohibited. You cannot use it as a variable name. Okay, and then rule number 4, there should be no white space. When we're talking about the white space, these are no space between two words. Just in case your variable name composed of two variable names, two words, then make sure to add some underscore in between, but you cannot add dash, so that is incorrect. Okay, let's proceed now with rule number 5. So in the rule number 5, there is actually a limit when we it's okay to have the long variable names, but then it's not recommended, but you have to take note that it must not exist to 31 characters, then otherwise it's no longer insignificant. Okay, it's not recommended, it's not good. And then last rule, case sensitive. When we are talking about case sensitive, it means that the C language actually does, when we create a variable names, there is a upper in lowercase, totally different. Example is the word all caps, that's different with the small caps or lowercase letters. Later we will try that one. Okay, so take note, these two, the uppercase, are totally different. So these are examples of what we call invalid variable names in here. Okay, where age of dog, what makes this one invalid? Because there is dash in between the words. Supposed to be you're going to create this one as underscore instead. And then the age number, the number symbol, this one is actually not allowed. And then the dollar sign, the symbol, which is also invalid. And the 2000 tax rate, the number 2000 is actually invalid. You cannot start with a number. And main is actually a special keyword in C++. Then you cannot use it as your variable name. Same thing with the C out actually. Okay, now let's try with the valid one. The valid one, okay, this one example. Although you can also write the age of dog with capital letter, that would be fine. That's valid as long as you will not use the space, the dash. Okay, print heading, so that's valid. Okay, as in the example 3, we have here the tax rate Y2K, that's also a valid variable name. The age, of course. Okay, as long as when you create a variable name, make sure it should be something meaningful. It can be understood easily and it would relate on the problem that you are trying to solve. Okay, now let's proceed. So when you declare variables, it must be declared before use, and it should be on the top of the program before you're going to use. It means inside the statement of the body. If you can remember in our topic about the program structure, then it should be within the body of the statement, which I'll be showing it later. Okay, so the variables cannot be initialized to starting value. So can be, not cannot be. Okay, if we're going to declare it just like this, in example, this one, where's this one? Okay, this one, int, this is the, what you call this one, the data type, the int, and this one is the variable name, the count, and then the equal sign, so that is referring to the assignment, meaning we actually put here the 0. Okay, 0, we assign the 0 to our variable name count, and then our data type here is int, it refers to the integer. So same thing with this one, second int, then our next variable name is age, and then we had here the count. Although you can also declare it this way in the vertical line, then assign to 0, meaning the 0 here on the second line only assigned to the count, but the age there is no value yet. Okay, is that clear? Now here, or is another example, it says here when we are going to declare the variables, that it tells the compiler the type of data to store actually. So these are the data that we can store. Okay, and I'm just hiding the camera. Okay, let's have the example here again. The int, that's a data type, number of Dollars, it's a variable name, and it should be end with a semicolon if it is the end. And then double, one weight, then total weight. These are assigned to double. When we use the double, it means it's a decimal point where, for example, we're going to divide a number, then the result, there is a remainder if we want to display the remainder. So that will be considered as a decimal point. Or another way is using a float. Mostly the double are used when it requires some point or decimal point, like the grade, 0.75, something like that, or money, or anything with a decimal point. And when we are talking about here the int, so this is actually the abbreviation of integer. It can store whole number, any number, as long as there's no decimal point, either -1, -2, or whatever, as long as no decimal point. And the number of bars is actually a type of integer, just like your year, first year, second year, third year. So that's considered as an integer. Okay, here double represents number with a fractional component where we can store like 1.3, 4.0, or let me say, assuming your grade will be 1.5. So we can use the double, or can use the float. One example here is the one weight and total weight, where the result will be within the decimal point. Okay, is that clear? Is that clear? Alright, let's proceed now. So in here, these are actually the common data types, where we had the simple and the structured one. So under the simple, we have the integral, the enum, and the floating point. So we can categorize the char, short, integer, then long, then boolean as part of the integral actually. And then when we are talking about the floating type of data types, this includes the float, double, or long double. Okay, another type of data type is the structured one. One example here is the array, and then the array, struct, union, and class. So we will try to cover this one next time during when we do the hands-on about the array. Okay, and another type of data types is the pointer and the reference, which can be discussed in an advanced topic later. I think that would be in the final topic. Let's try if we can cover the pointer. Okay, so first, this is what we call the primitive data types. In here, there are two. We can categorize the primitive data types, the floating and the integral. So when we use the char, these are actually letters, or usually like few letters only, 2 letters, 1 letter, but you cannot use the whole sentence. But if you want to use the whole sentence, then you should use the string instead. Okay, and then short, this also refers to a number. The integer, the long, the bool, it refers to boolean. The yes or no, or true or false. Okay, so the unsigned here, the char, the short, integer, and long, which you can actually read more about that in the handout that I give you with regards to the data types. Okay, let's proceed now. Okay, so these are the examples about the integral data types: whole number, negative numbers. And when it comes to the character types, these are what we call single character, usually declared as char. If we're going to use the character, then we declared it as char. And these are can store in ASCII values. Okay, And next one is the floating types. And so, in the floating types, this includes the real numbers with decimal points. So take note of that one. And it can be declared as a float or a double. And the notation here, example of this one, scientific notation, if you can remember in your algebra or in other subject, where the E stand for times 10 to the, example is 1.55-E6. And then the Boolean type can be declared as BOOL or bool. And this results as true or false values. Later you will understand more about the use of the Boolean. Okay. And with regards to this, it does not display an output. It's more of on the inside part of the programming. Okay. So here are the examples that you can use. The example of int, it's either how long is your number, as long as a whole number in the Boolean values, true or false. The float, like this sample. And the character, as you can see here, you will use the character, usually one character BD, and if you will use the 4 words or letters or 2 words, or then you have to use the string data types. Okay, now this time, this is how you're going to this is an example of declaration. Example, we're going to get the score of the student. We can actually declare it this way. If it is a whole number, then we can just use an integer int, then score 1, score 2, and score 3. This can be also represented this way. So these two are actually valid declaration. These two, okay? Either you use this one, this side, or the other side. It depends on the situation. What if you have a very long lines of integers? So it's better you arrange it on the this way, this one. It's better to use this option if it is all integer, so that in the next line you can use double, then another variable names. Okay, so the int, so that's the data type, and then the other one is the variable names. Score 1 is a variable name, score 2 is another variable name, then score 3. Okay, let's have now the hands-on. Okay, so this time I'll be showing you how to do the hands-on. Well, I'll be demonstrating on how to program hands-on. Okay, I'll be demonstrating on how to run a program using a Visual Studio Code. Although I did not include this in the printout, but I just want to show it to you that you can also use the Visual Code in running a program. Okay, let's get started. So this is how it looks like in Visual Studio. This is actually the welcome page, and I'll just have to close this one. And okay, and now this is now the blank page of the Visual Studio Code. The version of this one is actually, let's check what's the version that I'm using now. It's 1.49 version. Okay, so this time I will not show you how to install it, but instead I will demonstrate on how to run the program. Okay, but well, I will have another schedule on how to install or run a Visual Studio program and how to install the other utilities. Okay, in here, if you're going to run for the first time in the Visual Studio, you have to click here the Explorer. Okay, and since it's your first time, assuming in my case I already created a folder, so I'll just have click on the new open folder. So if ever you will use this one, you have to create first your own folder so that you can organize your files, you can save that way there easily, and you can put all your files there. Okay, now I'll just open up my own folder. Actually, if you want to create, assuming if you want to create your own folder, so first thing you're going to do, since you have no folder created yet, you can also click on this one, open folder, and then simply click on new folder. Example, I type here exercises, C++, sample H1, and then select the folder. So we will be now in the folder of the C++. So just had to wait for, okay, there you are. So there is now a welcome page. I'll just click on this one, and this is the typical look of the folder. Now next thing that we're going to do is create a new file. So here I will create a new file, add 2 numbers. So assuming we're going to add 2 numbers, this will be the problem that we're going to solve. So first, add 2.cpp, because the extension of the C++ is .cpp. Because if the extension is .c, it means it's a C language only. Okay, press enter. Now we are here in our code. So in here, as you noticed here, it's totally blank. It means you have to write your code from the scratch. Okay, this is the only difference with the VS Code, because you have to do the hard coding. Unlike with the code blocks, there's already a predefined sample code. All you need to do is just edit it. But in this case, we have to start typing from the line 1. Okay, so here, of course, normally we're going to type this one. As you noticed here, there is a what they call this one, automatic recommendation. Example, I'll make this one incorrect, and then there is an underline that it says here, unrecognized pre-processing directive. You will be giving a warning right away. Hey, you got a wrong spelling. Can you correct what you are trying to type here? Okay, I'll try to change it. Now it's the color changed to blue, and this one there is a red underline because it still requires more things that you need to add. As you noticed here, expected the file name, because in the version of C++ 13, although there is 17 now, it requires you to add more. So which is what's missing here, the IO stream. So it says here there is a recommendation. Okay, I can click it that way. Okay, now is there. Okay, the red line is now gone. Next is using namespace. Then assuming I'll make this an error. So what do you think is the error here? Okay, so it says here, if I'm going to point the cursor here, although, okay, identifier namespace 3 is undefined. So this is your error. In the version of C++ 20, it says here, oh, something wrong with your code. This is an incorrect identifier. Okay, so you have to check on that one. Okay, there's wrong. It's just the spelling. Okay, let's proceed. Now the lines, it's gone. Actually, this is the reason why I usually use the VS Code, because I can correct my error right away, and I can write the code faster. So start with int main. Okay, and then this time the curly braces. So this is the default program structure of the C++. Now we're going to declare the variable name. So what is our problem here? What's our problem here? We're going to solve two numbers. I mean, we're going to add two numbers. Okay, let's proceed. We're going to edit this one. So assuming we have two numbers, 25 and 45. Okay, so since the requirements of C++ is to declare the variable name first and the data types, we need to recognize or identify whether this one is a float, whether it's a integer, whether it's a character. Since this is a number, a whole number, it means it's an integer. Okay, it's an integer. Okay, we're going to put here integer, and then we're going to assign 25. It says here, it expected an identifier, meaning we're going to add a variable name. So we will assign the 25. We were going to create a number. Example, we can say num1 equals to 25. Okay, so the equal sign here refers to the assignment. So the 25, we're going to assign it to num1, and this time na 45, we're going to assign it to num2. Okay, equals to 45. And of course, don't forget the end of the line. So this is how you're going to do the declaration. Okay, and there is a comma here. There's an error here. What do you think is missing? Anyone could guess? Well, since these are considered as separate variable names, then you have to add comma. Okay, so now the error is gone. Okay, but when you create a variable names, it should be something meaningful. You can also use the word first. Instead of num1, num2, you can also say first num, or second num. You can also write this way, second num. So that's okay. Okay, then of course you have to remove this one. Okay, I hide the visual. I'll go back now. Okay, there you are. Sorry about that. I thought it's actually showing. So I was discussing a while ago. I was talking about here. Okay, I will just have to erase this one. I was talking about the 25 plus 45, like that. I'm just trying to explain it to you again. Okay, so in here, instead of adding it right away, and sometimes the value of first number can change to 15 or the second number can change to 40, then we need to replace the 25 with the first num. Okay, and then this one also, we will change this as second num. Okay, now what is the next step? This is our formula. The things that we need to do is we have to think, where can I put the result? Of course, we need to have another variable names in this case. Since we want to get the one, we can use the total or we can use the sum. It depends on the problem. Okay, as you noticed here, what happened to here, why the sum is as an error? What do you think is missing? Okay, can you guess? Anyone? Well, in this case, of course, you need to declare also the sum. Since sum is about getting the result of the first number, the second number, and then we can put it here, sum. Okay, so that the error will be gone. Now it's gone. Okay, so the other way also that you can declare this one is like this. Instead of vertical line, you can also declare this way, like that, and int. But for this case, then you have to put semicolon at the end, so you will not get an error. It can be like that. Just like in my previous example when I mentioned about the way that you can declare it with regards to our lecture. Okay, if you can remember it, here I mentioned about this one. Okay, if you can remember it, these two can be presented that way, but there are some consequences actually with regards to the lecture. If you can see here, score 1, 2, 3 can be represented that way or the other way around. And let's hide this one. Okay, here if you want to display it this way, that's okay. But however, if you have many integers to be displayed, so that would be too long. Okay, instead of presenting it that way, you can just simply comma, then put it this way, then comma. This is how you're going to separate it, meaning referring to you have three variables name here with the same data types. You don't need to put here int sum, second int sum. Okay, and if ever you will have another variable names, then that's the time that you can say double. Okay, result can be like that, comma. And if you have any other data types and variable names were all double, then you can just have put it here. Example A, B, these are all doubles. And you can write your program in a uniform way and easy to read. Okay, so I'll just delete this one. In this case, so in here, so I'll just have to put a comment here. Okay, formula to add two numbers. Okay, you can put that way as your comment so that you will not forget about it. And there's one thing that I need to show to you. Example, I will change this one into letter N. Okay, as you noticed here, there is an error. Although the spelling is the same, second num and this one the same, but actually they are totally different, because in programming these two are totally different. Either you just change this one into second num so that it should be uniform. Okay, this one should be uniform. Okay, you can just replace like that. So okay, now the underline is gone, the error. Or either if you want same caps lock, and then you have to replace this one as well, caps lock N. So every time that you declare here your variable names and data types, make sure that they are exactly the same, so you will not get an error. Now what is the next step? We're going to display the what is the next step? Hide again the lecture. Okay, going back here. Sorry, I hide it again. Okay, as you noticed here, okay, if we're going to change this one to letter number 3, what do you think is the error? What do you think is the error? There's an error again. It's because of this one. It should be, if you want to use the S3, then make sure that you also place this one as S3. Okay, like that. Then should be the same. So that is the effect now. So you have to take note that whatever you have declared should be the same as what you have declared in here in your formula. Now next step is we're going to display the output. Okay, here. Okay, so let's proceed now with our output. Of course, starting with the cout. Okay, so what's the next here? Under insertion operator. Okay, and then what we're going to call up the result of source name and second name, then we're going to put here sum. What do you think is the result of this one? Will it display the output? Do you think? What do you think? There will be a result of this one? Okay. Well, let's see. But actually, this one will run even if there is no end L. The use of end L is only when you want to end the line, then go to the next line. That's the use of end L. Even if we don't have here the return 0, it depends on the, what you call this one, and the compiler. So we just have to wait for the output, and let's see. Okay, I can see now the output in the VS Code. Automatic, it will also create an exe file. As you notice here, there's an executable file already. So we have now here the result, which is 70. Okay, the result is 70. So what if I want to display the first name and the second number? Okay, if I want to display the first number and the second number, all you need to do is type here like that, first num plus second num, okay, and then equal sign. So that's possible too. Okay, can we display this one now? Can we run the output for this one? Or do we still have to put the E and L? Okay, let's try to run the program. You can actually right click on here, run the code, or Control Alt N, or you just simply use this one. Press the button. Okay, let's try to run again. So the program now is compiling, trying to call up the result. So I will find out the output. Okay, let's try. First num plus second num is equal to 70. So what if I want to display what you call this one, the number? Is that possible? When is the time I can, example, I want to display like this, 25 plus 45 equals, what's 70? Is that correct? Right? This is what I want to display in my output. Okay, that's the one, this one, sorry, this one. Okay, that's the one that I want to display in the output. What do you think should I add in my code? Okay, so of course the next thing that we're going to edit on this part is, instead of putting it in a double quote, we just remove this one and remove this one again, the double quote. Okay, I'll just put here an insertion operator. It means we're trying to call out the value of the first number. What's the value of the first number? 25. And this time, what's the value of second number? Is 45. So I'll put here again another insertion point. Okay, and another, sorry, this one. Okay, another insertion point. This one will run. What do you think? Is there any error for this one? What do you think? Can you guess why there's an error in here? Because, okay, the plus sign still need to be in the double quote. Okay, double quote again here. Okay, there's no error now. Do you think this one will run? Quite noisy out there. This one will run. Let's try to find out. Let's try to run the program again. Okay, if there's an error, let's find out What do you think is the result? Can you guess? See, access is denied, so something wrong with our code. So what do you think is missing? Huh? Should we put the end line here? Let's try. No, not yet. So we're going to put here return 0. Does it work? Let's try this one first. Return 0. Whether it's still the same. It has no effect. Let's see if there's a result. By the way, oh, it's still access is denied. So it compiled the program in 7.2 seconds only. Okay, let's try to fix this one. So the return 0 is not working, and when is the time we will use the return 0 anyway? We will find out later. We will have another discussion for that. When is the time we can put the return 0, or when is the time not to put? Although this one, even if we don't have the return 0, it will still run. You can try it. So in this case, for this program to run, you can actually put here. Let's try it if this one works. Okay. This one works. Is there a result now? Where's the result? Okay, there you are. So it's now a 25, 25 plus 35. This one. Okay, 25 and 45 equals 70. We got now the result. So that's how you're going to run a program. Okay, when you want to have the spacing here, example, in between the, what do you call this one? In between, you want to have the spacing in between, all you need to do is actually put a spacing in between the plus sign. Okay, like that. Same here, space and spacing. Okay, let's try to run again. Okay, running. Oh, sorry, it's running already. Sorry, so excited. Alright, there you are. We got now the result. Okay, so there you are. 25, 45 equals 70. Okay, did you understand now? So this is actually the same process when you try to run a program related to operator, any kind of operator or operation. So first thing that you need to check is your variable name. When you declared it, it should be different. Oh, what I'm saying is, if there's a, the spelling is just the same, but the other one is small letter and the other one is uppercase, so that is totally different. Okay, so assuming this one, if I'm going to run this, you will actually get an error, although it's just the same. If you run the program, of course, obviously the program will inform you right away that something wrong with your code. You need to see first now. So there's a recommendation here. Okay, something wrong with your code. Try to check your work. You got it wrong. You need to fix it. It's in the line 8. Try to fix your line 8. It should be the same. Exactly the same. Okay, fix it. Okay, I will fix it. This one, your declaration should be a small letter as well. Okay, so same process. Try to practice on this one, combining the integer and the float and the double. And that is our next topic. What will be the effect? Okay, if you have no more questions, well, always remember to, before you declare, think of a meaningful variable name. Okay, so we're done running now with our problem between two numbers. So I'll be giving you a challenge to solve. It's actually just very simple. You will be combining a either an integer or a double, but it's up to you how you're going to present your variable names. This time, the problem that you're going to solve is about the conversion dollar to peso, assuming $1 is equal to 53.45. And what if you're going to find out how much would be the equivalent in peso if you had $1,250. So that will be your challenge. Are you ready for that? Okay, go ahead. I know you can do it. Let's get started.